Joanne ask her questions also. So I want to introduce Mr. Joe Montone.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Excellent.
Nice to see you, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I run the WINGS program. In December, we begin our 25th year in the WINGS program. That's a long time. We've been to 100 schools, 8 prisons, many recovery homes, and we have a lot of success, 80 to 100% success in the WINGS program. 80% in the first year with men coming home from prison, 92% in the second year, and 100% in the third year. We also have 8 people who have died in the last 4 years due to overdose on heroin. 50 people who have died in 24 years. Our job is to help you today. Today I'm going to bring you 2 really great men who will share their stories with you to help you to make great decisions, gain some wisdom, so you have good judgment and decision-making skills, because you're going to need it. And I'm sorry that half the class isn't here because they didn't attend, because it's their loss. When you don't show up for the game, you miss practice, you miss the game, and you don't get to play in the next game. Our job is to help you to play and play well in the field of life. Make sense? So we have about 1,500 men in the program right now throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And we have 320 men a year inside the Philadelphia prison system. Part of the week I'm inside. We get 80 men every 10 weeks. And we get to work with them like we are here. 50 hours, 20 sessions, 10 weeks, to make an impact on them. Then they have to implement it by making great choices. Otherwise, they can go back to prison or worse. Does that make sense? We have men with 27 children. We have men with 17 children. We have men who are serving life and double life, quadruple life. All different stories. Okay, we have women who have been, involved in everything you can imagine. Some women who have died. This year we lost Sarah Benecker, who died at 34 years old. A prostitute, selling drugs, using drugs, 5 years incarceration, 31 arrests, raped 13 times, 14 times overdose. Many stories to Sarah's life. And so today I just want to thank you for having us here. And we've been here many times. We're going to be here in the future. But our job is to help you really to live a good life. So with that, I want to introduce Chris Connolly. He's our first speaker. Chair for Chris.
Good morning, class. You guys are the good kids, huh? My name's Chris Connolly, and Joe said. I'm a recovering drug addict. My drug use started in my early teens with weed and alcohol. I was a weekend warrior. My folks got divorced when I was young. I also grew up in Bucks County, Doylestown. The consequences happened as a result of my using. I was kicked out of Archbishop Wood for suspicion of selling marijuana. I started selling pot for social reasons as well as financial. It was nice to make friends, because I wasn't into sports or corny things like League Club or drama. Everybody loves the drug dealer. Little did I realize that selling was bringing me the wrong friends and the wrong type of attention. The friends I found were the kind that I would spot stuff to and they'd never pay their tabs, or the kind that I would invite over to my house and they'd rob me. My new friends screwed me over one day. I threw a party in high school. I had 3 different high schools attend. One of my parents were out of town. They broke into my stepdad's office, stole his credit cards, stole my mom's jewelry, broke into the basement office. At the time, I didn't realize it, since I never went down the basement, until my parents came home. Then I was in trouble. I knew a lot of kids that died from drunk driving and drugs throughout high school. I was kicked out of my mom's house at 17 for not going to school. I also didn't like to go to class. So they kicked me out, and I ended up moving out of my dad's house in Virginia. I graduated from Oakton High School in 1998. I barely got into college. The University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown took me. I was so excited to get out of my dad's apartment, and living on my own in a dorm room was going to be a big adventure. My first week up there, I tripped on acid 3 times. As mind as expanding as it was, going to class would have been a little more mind expanding. Halfway through the semester, my roommate killed himself. He also was taking a lot of acid. The campus police came and pulled me out of class around Valentine's Day. Apparently I had sold drugs to an undercover cop 2 months prior, 1 gram of marijuana. They came for me so long after because they wanted me to forget who had actually narked me out. They charged me with numerous felonies, and as a result of it being in a school zone. My father's a federal prosecutor who worked at the DEA, so fortunately I didn't have very much jail time. I was thrown out of college consequentially, and didn't make it back to college for 15 years. I picked up drinking full time at that point. I would go to the bar at happy hour and stay till the last call. I broke my back in a car accident years later. I was given Percocets for the first time in life, and I fell in love. They helped me to be sociable, get my work done, and feel high. Unfortunately, I built up a tolerance rather quickly. Those of us who are deemed addicts metabolize opiates in different ways than normal people. We build up tolerances. The more regularly we take opiates, that we build tolerances. There's very little difference between Percocets and street heroin. Most heroin addicts started as a result of an injury, which leads to painkillers, then heroin. I was prescribed 3 5-milligram perks a day. By the next year, I was taking 3 80-milligram oxycontins. So obviously my tolerance grew. I never would have taken them if I'd known that there was a sickness involved with taking them. If you take Percocets for a week, then stop or run out, you get sick. I thought it was the flu at first, although it was way worse than any flu I've ever had. I was throwing up, diarrhea, restless leg, pain like you would not believe. Your bones ache. I had horrific hallucinations. I was in hell on earth. I was told by a friend that if I took an oxy, it would go away. I thought, how would an oxy make the flu go away? But sure enough, as soon as I took it, I felt better. I was addicted. That's the way it was for a few years. I would get high, run out of money, and buy more pills and beat the sickness. This is what's described as the vicious cycle, and it was vicious. My mom used to warn me that my dad was an alcoholic and I had the gene. Sure enough, there's a propensity for you to be an addict. It runs in your family. The thing about opiates, including Vicodin, perks, oxys, and heroin, is that if you're addicted, your chances of getting clean are very slim. You have a lot better chance of being sick the rest of your life or dying, which is sometimes easier. They tell you that weed or alcohol are gateway drugs, which I always thought was bull. But it's true, because the same guy that sells weed eventually ends up selling coke, and that's where you end up getting it from. Weed just started me on this horrible 25-year journey. I had the feeling from being high from perks for the first 6 months. But after that, it was a struggle not to feel sick. At one point, I had $100,000 as a result of a lawsuit. I went through that in 6 months, beating this addiction. I ended up buying me and my girlfriend enough drugs, and we were snorting the pills at that point. At the end of that 6 months, I was broke, kicked out of my apartment. Girlfriend ended up leaving and going to Virginia to get clean, and I was just stuck, sick and alone. I never would have taken the pills if I'd known where it ends up leading to. And it's 3 places: jails, institutions, and death. For the past 5 years, I've been in treatment at a methadone clinic. You meet a lot of unsavory characters in places like that. All my nevers came true in the parking lot there. I'd never used a needle until then. I'd never tried heroin until then. I'd never smoked crack until then. I've seen many people die right in front of me as a result of opiate use. In fact, 2 days ago, I saw a guy walk out of my methadone clinic high on Xanax, walked right into a Coca-Cola truck, and I ran over and died. He was on methadone and Xanax. That type of thing happens every day, and a lot worse. I'm tapering off methadone right now after 5 years of being stuck on it. The WINGS program has been instrumental in this. I attend Joe's class every Saturday morning, and it encourages me to be positive and productive. I've moved into the WINGS home, the recovery home in Philadelphia, and it's been a lot safer of an environment than my previous apartment, where I had a bloodthirsty landlord that harassed me for rent, a prostitute that lived next door with a nasty perk habit, and every month the gas and the electric were being shut off. In fact, my last roommate tried to murder me after I caught him in my room stealing. He bashed me over the head with a frying pan, then stabbed me with a machete and tried to cut off my ear. Luckily, there was a plastic surgeon working in the ER that night, and I managed to save it. Now I attend a local church and a Bible study. I work at the Philadelphia Library as a security guard, and I'm going to community college to get my X-ray tech license. The WINGS program has been very adamant about getting my priorities straight in the week's 168 hours. God works in mysterious ways. In fact, if I'd never been homeless and drug addicted on the streets of Kensington, I may never have hit rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom, you have nowhere else to go but up. My life is the most stable it's ever been. Each day is getting better and better. If it weren't for all the heartache and pain, I wouldn't be able to appreciate what I now have. But I'm one of the lucky ones. Lots of my friends are dead. In fact, most of my friends from high school are dead. So heed my warning. Don't get caught up in taking pills. Just because they're prescribed by doctors doesn't mean they're any better than drugs like heroin or coke. God bless you. Any questions?
I have one. So methadone clinic, and excuse me for not knowing, methadone clinic is supposed to get you off of heroin?
Yeah.
And that's
Basically,
when-
it's a harm reduction program. It gets you stabilized so you start thinking clearly again, and then you're supposed to taper off.
Well, how long is the period that you're supposed to taper off in?
It varies per individual. I've stuck on it for 5 years until my head's finally been cleared. But it took a lot of other different things, like God for one, the WINGS program, going back to school. The methadone itself is just a drug. The hard work comes in after your mind gets cleared.
And you said you did most of your nevers in that parking lot?
I made friends in that parking lot, and that's when my nevers started coming true, because I was raised in Doylestown, and after moving down to Philadelphia and making the wrong friends, it was socially acceptable to use needles or to smoke crack. I mean, that type of stuff wasn't really available in Doylestown, but it found me.
The first time you shot heroin, what did it feel like?
I was sick for about 3 days, actually. I thought it would be like Percocets or Oxys. My body rejected it right away. I was throwing up. I completely drenched in sweat. I mean, the high lasted maybe 10 minutes, but then it was just hell.
How many bags of dope were you up to a day?
I was fortunate. I only tried it after I was on the methadone clinic.
Okay.
So I never really had a methadone habit. My habit was more oxycontin. I was up to 10 80 milligram tablets a day, which is equivalent to 500 Percocets.
So what, an 80 milligram, how much does that cost? One pill?
$60. An 80 milligram pill is 16.5s.
How did you get through it?
A lot of the times I didn't get through it. I actually, towards the end of my use, I robbed my mom. I stole her ATM card, took $200 out. As a result, she didn't talk to me for 2.5 years. I was all alone. I had a friend drive me to Doylestown Hospital under the guise of me going to get the Percocets. Instead, when I went in there, I broke down and cried to the lady and told her, please send me to rehab. And it's been 5 years since I went to that rehab clinic, and I'm still not done with the struggle.
Are there any triggers that happen in the day that you want to go back and do
Sure,
the
there's
again?
lots of things. I broke my back 5 years ago. The pain has been a big trigger for me. When I start feeling pain, I have to play the tape of the consequences that happen in my life. Otherwise, I would go out and do better. But as long as I play the tape, remember exactly where those pills lead me to, which is homeless and sick. And I don't want to go back to being homeless and sick. I'm much happier being where I am now.
Can you describe the feelings of withdrawal?
It's tricky. It's a lot of people compare it to the flu, but it's so much worse. Your body's covered in sweat. You feel hot. Your bones ache. It actually, on numerous occasions, I tried to kill myself to escape it.
How did you try to kill yourself?
At one point, I put a hose in the car exhaust, put it in the window, and a police officer ended up breaking the window to get me out. Luckily, it was so early on, and otherwise I could have ended up being a vegetable and being stuck at home for the rest of my life, not able to talk. I tried slitting my throat, cut my jugular, slit my wrists, tried hanging myself, a bunch of different ways.
What is it like being homeless?
Desperate, extremely desperate. You'll do anything to get out of where you're at, especially if it's cold outside. It's funny, down in Kensington, there's a large drug-addicted homeless population, and they stay out all summer. But around fall is usually when the shelters and hospitals, psych wards mainly, fill up, just so they can escape it.
Would you turn to crime just to get money?
Yeah, in fact, I know many people that turn to crime. The usual MO of a heroin addict is retail theft. And I've heard recently that if you have 3 of them, it's considered a mandatory sentence and you go away for 5 years just for stealing stuff out of Walmart or Kmart. I myself sold drugs. I would go to doctors, get prescriptions because I had a previous injury, and I would sell them, but that also gets you in trouble.
I got one more. You said you were sick for 3 days the first time you shot up. What made you go back the second time? Or what made you go back again?
The sickness that came after that.
So the withdrawals was worse than,
The withdrawal was horrendous. You wouldn't want your worst enemy to feel that way. It was that bad. And it doesn't just last a day or 2 days. It can last upwards of 3 weeks. And you are so lost during those 3 weeks. You will do anything, say anything. I know guys that go to the methadone clinic who've actually sold their ass to try to get well. I mean, these are straight guys becoming gay for pay. It's a very, very desperate thing.
Why'd you drop acid?
I had heard in the 60s that it was fun, and I wanted to expand my mind, and I was into hippie type stuff, animal rights, and I was young and dumb. And
So what happened when you tripped?
It's basically an 8-hour, my friend used to describe it as a personality test. You're basically exposed to the rawest emotion that you are. For 8 hours, you're trapped. If you're not around the right people, it can be very scary. I'm lucky that I was one of the ones that was able to live past it, but I know a lot of people that weren't. In fact, I know one guy who had to leave college the first semester. The guy thinks he's a glass of orange juice, constantly worried about being tipped over. He's in a psych ward for the rest of his life.
What would you say to the kids here about trying a pill once? Or about, as we talked earlier, about the gateway drug of pot, smoking weed?
Yeah, well, you hear so many things on the news about them legalizing pot. When I was 16, I would tell my dad, "Oh, you wait, they're gonna legalize it one day." The thing is, pot leads to other drugs. I mean, pot might be good for certain health conditions and stuff. I don't want to completely knock it, but it screwed my life. And if I could go back and tell the 16-year-old me not to do it, I would, because I got into selling pot just to support my own habit. And I sold 1 gram to an undercover cop. My best friend set me up, brought a girl into my room who was the undercover cop, just because he'd gotten a DUI a couple weeks earlier. And he screwed me over. I was facing multiple felonies at the time, which can basically screw you over for getting a job for the rest of your life. Something as simple as 1 gram of pot. So you gotta think before you act.
Chris, can you speak a little bit about the company you kept during those years, your friends? What influence did your friends have on your addiction?
My friends, if you can even call them that, were just looking to get things off me. I didn't realize it at the time for a long time until I actually made real friends this time around. These were friends that would come up with different schemes to try to get money or try to get pills, and you go along with it at the time because you're so desperate just to not feel sick. And they basically led me into a lot of trouble. I mean, like I said earlier, most of my high school friends are dead. In fact, the 2 that are remaining are in jail. So obviously I chose poorly.
People say marijuana is not addicting, but it seems like the kids want it so bad sometimes that it is addicting because it stops them from coming to school and like they can't get through the day without.
It's non-addictive, but it is habit forming.
Very
That's the thing.
habit-forming.
And your brain works like a computer. It takes 7 days to get an addiction or a habit like marijuana, and it takes 21 days to reprogram your brain to not do it. So that's about 3 weeks of not smoking pot. And then after that, it's easy.
That first 21 days is the hard part.
Yeah, well, as long as you surround yourself with positive people. What I have now in methadone clinic and AA has introduced me to is a support system in your circle of influence. If you surround yourself with positive people, chances of you making it are going to be a lot better. In fact, most of the people I wasn't friends with in high school that are doing well right now, I'm embarrassed to tell them about the last 18 years of my life because it's been a letdown for me. But at least I'm not dead and I have a second chance.
Since you started, well, since you've not clean, have you been in a relationship with your mom?
Yeah, actually, funny story. I was in Fishtown 3 years ago, and I went around selling pills to some people, and I sold them fake pills. They came after me with 4 guys with baseball bats. I was in the hospital in a coma for 2 weeks. They called my emergency contact, which was my mother. And my mom came in, my dad came in, some track marks all over my arm. Very embarrassing. But as a result, my mom always loved me. She just didn't like who I'd become. And we've connected since then. I actually was up there last week having a steak, so things are good again. And
Where do you see yourself 1 year from today, Chris?
hopefully graduating and getting my x-ray tech license, making some good money, possibly moving back to Bucks County. I've been in Philadelphia for the past 5 years, a lot of bad memories from down there. But you don't realize how good you have it. I mean, Bucks County is unlike any other place I've ever lived. Philly can be bad, and I would like to, at some point, be able to move back to where my parents live. I mean, they have woods in their backyard. Instead of like a train going by your house, you got deer running wild. It's kind of nice.
Okay, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Jeff.
Okay, folks, our next speaker is Stanley Jones, and